Hello, and today I am back with another article that we are going to dissect together. In this segment of my channel, we are discussing mental health in South Africa, the state of it, what's really going on with us, and I'm going to be going through some articles and explaining or commenting on it, and yeah, having that conversation with you. It was something on my selfie camera views. Getting a little awkward. Okay. And I hope you find it interesting. I hope you find it informative more than anything. If you don't find it interesting, I hope that you do get to take away something. Today, I am excited to speak on this one. This is more of my husband's passion, actually, in terms of the mental health space. We're talking about mental health in teenagers and children as a general, but this is going to focus on teenagers. This article I found from discovery.co.za, and it is titled, Now is the Most Important Time to Focus on Teen Mental Health. It's an oldish article. It's from July 2021, but I feel like it's still speaking about something that would be really still relevant, especially if you have not read the article already. You might still learn a little something from it. So I haven't read it at all. I just like the headline, and I like to speak about kids and how the fact, and not even how they're affected, but the fact that they actually are also affected by mental health issues and mental illness. And sometimes as adults, we may try to skip over it and assume that we have much bigger problems than they do, and therefore, hey man, I hope the reflection doesn't disturb you, but utilizing the screen for some time is disturbing my eyes, so I need to keep the glasses on. All right. Adolescence is both a time of profound human potential and acute vulnerability. Okay, I'm pausing there because it's so windy outside. And when it's this windy, there's a very good chance electricity is going to leave now or water is going to get cut off. So weird sometimes over here. Okay, but Wi-Fi is still connected, so we're still fine. It's so windy. I hope you're not going to hear it over. This mic can be so sensitive. You can hear anything and everything. Is it still on? Yes? Yep. Still on. Again, that's because adolescence is a time of dynamic brain development that sets the scene for adult well-being. It is also the peak age of onset of most mental health problems, again, with massive implications for an individual and for future generations. Okay. Don't mind my reading. Like, reading out loud is actually not as easy as it's supposed to be. Here's where the article jumps into its detail. This June, which is June 2021, marks the 45th anniversary of the 1976 student uprising in Soweto, where children lost their lives while standing up against the apartheid government for the right to equal education. Decades later, every Youth Month, a vital question remains. Have we made strides in ensuring that the voice of the youth is truly heard? To answer that question, I think in the mental health space for the youth, I don't think it has been truly heard. The voice of the youth has been truly heard. I don't really think so, but I think that the youth are shouting a little louder this time, specifically around their mental health. In South Africa and across the world, adolescents battle daily for what is a fundamental right: access to mental health support they need, when they need it most. Why is this the case? The 2016 Lancet Commission on Adolescent Health and Wellbeing explains that as adolescence is a critical phase for achieving human potential. It's a time of dynamic brain development, one in which the interaction with the social environment shapes the capabilities an individual takes forward into adult life. Okay, we understand that about adolescence or teenagehood. However, It's also widely known that adolescence is the peak age of onset of most mental health problems, says Dr. Nolitando. Let me not. Dr. Nolitando, Discovery Health head of the Center for Clinical Excellence. Oh, okay, so Dr. Nolitando is the Discovery Health head of the Center for Clinical Excellence. All right. Common psychiatric disorders in adolescence include anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and eating disorders. All are associated with an increased suicide risk. Ah, but we know that. Or do we? I think we know that, but I'm not sure we understand that. A lot of teens are struggling with substance abuse, and when it's not that, it's eating disorders. And and that's sad. That's a tough one. It's also when you look into like parenting as well, like it's such a difficult thing to make your teen understand how much you love them. You know, like I don't know if no, I know I'm not the only one. I had this conversation before, so I know I'm not the only one. I remember seeing a video of some old man saying that it was an interview, not really a video, it was an interview that was, I think it was on Diary of a CEO. If it's not Diary of a CEO, it's Melissa. It's Melissa, that other lady. Okay. But anyway, this man said that children generally don't know how much you love them as a parent. They know how much you show up for them. And that's where they'll understand your love for them. But to truly feel like the in-depth, depth of how much you love them, they don't really know that. And I see it, and I believe it, and I understand it, and I see it. I think now at this age, I have a better understanding of my parents' love for me, and even seeing like my parents-in-law and their love for us, like I get it, and I also see how we as kids don't understand the depth of their love, their sacrifices, and all of that. So the sad thing then is trying to make sure that your teen understands it to the point where they don't let substance abuse take over and ED take over and unaliving yourself, going from a thought to actually attempt to an attempt. You know, it's difficult to get through to them. So if the youth are able to win the fight against not getting adequate mental health care, that would be great. That would really, 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 really be great. Okay, continue. Lancet Commission authors add, during adolescence, an individual acquires the physical, cognitive, emotional, social, and economic resources that are the foundation for later life health and well-being. These same resources define trajectories into the next generation. Okay. This means that what happens to our teenagers will impact our own children and so on. Oh, will impact their own children and so on. Yes. Excuse me. Yes, we understand that because we know we are also impacted by generations. So, I mean, hey man, it's not like these teens are dealing with these things out of nowhere, man. They're not weird. They're not dumb. They're not struggling with these things out of nowhere. It's not brand new information. It's just that that's where they currently are at. And okay, let's continue. At Dr. Nolitando, That leaves us with a massive responsibility to ensure their mental and physical well-being, particularly in South Africa, where such a large proportion of our population is young. Discovery Health notes worrying decline in mental health claims for children and young adults over course of pandemic. Okay, that's another headline, right? Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, Discovery Health experienced a year-on-year, which is from 2017 to 2019, increase in medical scheme members claiming for mental health conditions in children under 18 and young adults at 2.2% and 6.2% relatively in children. The majority of these claims were for depression, ADHD, and bipolar disorder in children. In young adults, the majority of claims were for depression and bipolar disorder. That makes that makes sense. That makes sense. If you just look at a lot of people around you, you probably have seen more of depression disorder, anxiety disorder, ADHD, bipolar in adults and young adults and in children more than maybe seeing like schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder or whatever it is. Like there's more of these, so that makes sense. It is concerning that in 2020 we saw a 10.9% increase in claims of this nature relating to children and a 5% increase of claims relating to young adults. I understand 2020 was a difficult time. Wow. This is in line with general decrease in people seeking out healthcare for non-COVID conditions over the course of the pandemic. This means that either the range of mental health conditions usually claimed for were this means that either the range of mental health conditions usually claimed for were not detected in children and young adults. Okay, or that they did not seek out treatment for them, both with serious impacts on the young people in question. Yeah, so the detection thing, that's it. That's another tough situation because a lot of people struggle with being misdiagnosed. And we had this conversation with Oscar Male, and we spoke about how Oscar is a mental health coach. There is an interview of us, well, a live conversation that we had on the channel. So if you'd like to go back to it, it was very informative and quite fun. Actually, I do recommend having a look at that conversation. Also, she's very busy on TikTok. Oh, doing very well. In fact, she was nominated now for Motivational Speaker of the Year, I think. I think it was Motivational Speaker of it. Like, Oscar Kleoman, Helang. Okay, what were we talking about? I don't remember what I was. Lost my train of thought. Let's move on. Next headline. 50% of mental health conditions start by age 14. Most undetected and untreated. Now I remember the train of thought. She mentioned that when you get a diagnosis, it's a good idea to get a second opinion and a third and a fourth and a fifth, and just get some opinions. Okay, don't just take one opinion, because we were talking about how a lot of people, in fact, in our comment section, there were people that spoke about how they had been misdiagnosed for schizophrenia when it was actually major depression disorder, which is very different. Has a lot of similarities here and there, but quite different. I hope this is still on because I can't. Okay. Has a lot of similarities, but also quite different, and that is scary. That is scary. Imagine being on antipsychotics when you're supposed to be an antidepressant. Like, that is disturbing. That is disturbing. I remember also over this past weekend, had a conversation with other ladies, and they spoke about getting on medication made them even. They didn't like it. They got off because it made them so slow and so and woozy and like I feel like, in my opinion, according to my understanding, just little bit. I'm just a YouTuber. Sometimes I do nails. Nothing too hectic over here. But in my little opinion, it could also be like a misdiagnosis thing. Um, Even if it's not a misdiagnosis, if say maybe the diagnosis was bipolar disorder, even if it is that, maybe it wasn't at a certain level and the medication was too strong for that person or something like that. Because my husband and I take meds, and for us, it's like multivitamins. Like, yes, that is a fun. Not that it's a fun thing, but like it's a thing. It's literally, it's part of our multi. When we take your vitamin C's, we take them. When we take, what's the other one? Calmeg. Yeah, calcium, magnesium. When we take those, we take them as well. Like, it's not that, and it actually does what it needs to do, and we're happy, and we go back to repeat because he man, and then there's ones that are for like really times when you're really, really anxious and or panic attacks and whatever, and then there's stuff for that, and it does what it needs to do. So so then I do worry about people that are getting medication that makes them not be able to function properly. There's also another guy in my community that also struggles with mental illness, and his seems to be sort of on the border of like schizophrenia as well, right? Definitely the depression is very visible. You can see that. And then, all of these things, but also, substance abuse is also, an issue. But I understand where the root of the issue is. It's because you had these mental illnesses and there was nowhere to go besides taking some type of substance, right? Somebody else that cares for this person told me that he had been on medication for his mental illness, but he didn't like it because it made him like really slow and really, you're constantly in like drowsy mode. But people on the outside were looking at him and being like, "Great, you look so much better. You're behaving so much better." And I don't know if it's he needs to be started off with a really strong one and then gradually be dropped off into the lighter stuff. But these are very difficult conversations to have with professionals in the public space. If you find someone great, then good for you, but it's difficult to have these conversations and tell your doctor at a clinic or at a government hospital and say, "I would like to change my medication." I've been to a hospital before, and I told the doctor I was there for the antidepressants, but I also told the doctor, I'm like, "Listen, I've got this really bad pain on the side that starts like from my heart and it goes and it makes my neck really painful, and it's now caused like this big bump behind my ear, and it was making my ears painful and giving me like headaches and stuff like that." And she was like, "No, you don't have that." And I'm like, "No, I'm telling you, like, this is like, no, that's not serious. You don't have that." I'm like, "Oh, am I hallucinating? Am I not? Are you not going to touch and just hear something, feel something? Just maybe." So it's imagine, and that's just for that type of situation. But now, if you have to go in and speak about your mental illness, another lady was complaining about how she got medication, but had to, it was just going back to misdiagnoses and just not being heard. And it goes back to it's a difficult conversation to have with a professional. I think for me, because I started off with a GP, private doctor, not in a public hospital or public clinic or anything like that. That lady was so understanding. I still feel like buying her roses and marshmallows and just going and being like, I just want to thank you for how understanding you were on that day, because it gave me the permission, the bravery to get out and seek extra help and not care what happens, what anybody else says. Because when we were going from hospital to hospital, in all of these hospitals, there were nurses coming and being like, what's your problem? You're so pretty, and then you're gonna be depressed. What's wrong with you? You shouldn't be over here. But you've got a husband and you're depressed. Oh, but you've got a family. And what do you mean you're depressed? No, you're not. You don't even understand what depression is, and you don't. And it's uh, all of that. I was like, I was just so prepared because of the first doctor that heard me so much, that understood so much. And I remember the other doctor that we went to with my husband, he was also so understanding. We literally told him about the different medication that we've been on and what we're thinking of changing and whatever. And he's like, okay, I think I'm going to change you to this. And we're like, we've tried that one before. And he's like, oh, okay, fine. And it was like a nice conversation. It was literally like we're talking about vitamins, guys. Like it was that chill. It is so nice. And when you're in that type of environment, you're able to give your doctor as much information as they need freely so that they can do their job the way they need to do their job. Like it's a nice thing. Okay, I've been ranting for a very long time. It's 21 minutes in. Let's get back to the article. World Health Organization data shows the following. Depression is the fourth leading cause of illness and disability amongst adolescents aged 15 to 19. Scary. Anxiety is the ninth leading cause for adolescents aged 15 to 19. Mental health conditions account for 16% of the global burden of disease and injury in people aged 10 to 19. Mental health conditions aged 10 to 19. Can we just not overlook these babies? Can we not see their behaviors as attention seeking? Can we avoid looking at them like they're not supposed to be whatever way that they are because they are too young to be going through anything? Can we understand? Can we understand that? Perhaps the most worrying data shared by the WHO is that half of all mental health conditions start by 14 years of age, but most cases go undetected and untreated, says Dr. Saran Motilal, a clinical wellness specialist at Discovery Vitality. According to South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG, in South Africa, 9% of all teen deaths are caused by unaliving themselves. SADAG points to a major link between depression and unaliving, particularly where the signs of depression are not recognized and treated. Many times they are recognized and they are seeable and they are viewable, but the first thing that comes to mind to a lot of adults is that this child is being a child and they're being problematic, and we need to find as many punishments as possible, as many harsh punishments as we can to deal with this child, as opposed to dealing with what the real problem is and getting treatment. These humans are not that difficult. Okay, they are difficult, never mind. But with mental illness, the more you educate yourself, the better you can pick up on it. I hope I'm not making any parents feel guilty. I hope I'm not, because that already is a challenge on its own, and doing your best is more than enough. It's just, can we have like more of an understanding? WHO data shows that suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 19-year-olds globally. 90% of adolescents' suicide takes place in the world's low or middle income countries. And that's where we are at, right, as a country. Low, middle income space. I don't know where we are exactly, but I know we're not a first world country, so adolescence is a uniquely tough time. Fine, we know that. I've seen these stresses trigger new mental health issues and worsen existing ones. Whoa! Counseling psychologist Rabetswe Baez explains, in adolescence, Protective life skills such as coping mechanisms, capacity for reasoning, and emotional maturity are still developing, and this makes teens vulnerable to mental distress. What are the warning signs of depression in teenagers? Let's let's discuss. I'm sorry it took this long to get to this point, but let's discuss this. I didn't know this part was coming. I would have gotten to it much earlier. Okay, the warning signs that we need to look out for as parentals and co-parentals and assistant parentals and guardians. Yes? A persistent low mood, sadness, and hopelessness that do not go away and where the cause is unclear. Do we get that? Low mood, sadness, hopelessness, it doesn't go away, but also you can't understand what started it. I think it's important also not to pressure anybody to be like, what is the real reason? What is the reason? Is it because you didn't eat yesterday? Is it because last year this happened? Like, what is the reason? There might be, and it also might be unclear. That's something to also look into. Okay. Sleep disturbances, insomnia, or too much sleep. Changes in eating habits, eating too much or eating too little. Feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness, worthlessness, self-blame. Angry outbursts with irritability or frustration, anxiety or agitation. Fatigue or lack of energy. General apathy around life and appearance. Withdrawal, socially, actively, isolation from friends and family. Decreased decreased interest in things previously enjoyed. Okay. Complaining of not feeling physical well, perhaps headaches, stomach aches, or other pains. Problems at school, either grades are affected or teacher notices a loss of focus and concentration. General trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things. Substance abuse or other risky behaviors, talking about self-harm, death, unaliving, and with that one in brackets, it's written immediately seek professional help. It's not your department to start judging at this point. But now we know the science, right? Now we know the science, a few things to look out for. If you see too many of the things on this list coming together, we can immediately seek professional help. Dr. Nolitando says depression can profoundly affect areas like schoolwork and school attendance. Social withdrawal can exacerbate isolation and loneliness. At its worst, depression can lead to unaliving. Okay, we get it, right? I think that makes sense. If you want to go through the rest of this article, you can find it on discovery.co.za. On the website, it's under individuals, and then there's just a whole lot of articles, but this one is from July 2021, headlined, "Now is the most important time to focus on teen mental health." And yeah, I think we'll leave it right there for now. I'd like to hear what you think. Please drop your comments, your thoughts, your understandings in the comment section. Let me know what you are thinking. I think this was a well-written article, easy to understand, and I'm happy with the inputs that Discovery also just put in there from their professionals. There's important information that we all need to know and understand. Don't forget to like so that somebody can get this. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this information to be helpful. I will see you in the next one.